Brand new numbers on the US economy, giving us our first glimpse of the impact of President Donald Trump's sweeping policy changes. The critical GDP report out in the last half hour shows that economic growth has sharply declined in the first 3 months of the year, contracting at an annualized rate of 0.3%. That's the worst quarter the country has seen since 2022. We'll likely hear from the president shortly on this as he prepares to convene his cabinet in just a few hours. Well, that's after touting his record for his first 100 days in office during a rally in Michigan last night, vowing that, quote, "You haven't seen anything yet." Well, CNN's Matt Egan joins us now live from New York with the latest on all these numbers. Matt, good to have you with us. So just break down these results for us, the worst since 2022.
Yeah, Linda, that's right. The U.S. economy is shrinking for the first time in 3 years. As you noted, gross domestic product, GDP, it's the broadest measure of economic output, and it did decline. This was a bit of a surprise. Consensus was for really slow but positive growth, although there were some forecasters out there anticipating an even bigger drop in GDP. And so why did this happen? Well, it's really clear that this is directly linked to the president's trade war and the supply shock that the tariffs set off, right? We had businesses and consumers who were trying to beat the clock on tariffs, right? They were scrambling, trying to front run those tariffs and trying to import goods to try to avoid those import taxes. And what happens is when imports increase, especially when they increase as dramatically as they did in the last quarter, that actually subtracts from GDP. And so that's what we were bracing for, and that is exactly what happened. Another factor here, there was government spending, particularly federal government spending declined. That was also a negative to GDP. So you put those two together and you get the first decline since 2022. Now, when you dig into the report, there were other factors here that are a little bit more mixed. Consumer spending slowed, but it was still positive. Business investment was also still positive, although part of that was driven by, again, trying to beat the clock on tariffs. There is what's known as core GDP. That number held up in the most recent quarter. So when you put it all together, it does paint the picture of an economy that is facing almost unprecedented pressure from tariffs. I talked to economist Greg Dacko a few moments ago, and he said, look, he doesn't think that we can call a recession from this data alone, but he said this is a sign that we are on razor-thin edge, where the longer tariffs remain